No one thinks he's good at this job. I mean, I haven't met a Democrat who will make a compelling case for Joe Biden as a good president. They may like him better. It's always, I like him better than Trump. Trump is an insurrectionist, a white nationalist, all that stuff. There's nothing to point to with Joe Biden that is impressive.
If Elon Musk and or some of the people around him are listening to the show, we welcome you into the Clay and Buck family because we want as much sanity out there, regardless of where it's coming from. And this is Elon Musk saying basically the same thing we've been saying for a while, which is whoever controls Joe Biden's teleprompter, it is a Ron Burgundy level presidency. And if you don't get that reference, I'll explain it in a moment. But first, here is Elon Musk talking about Joe Biden's incompetence.
The real president is whoever controls the teleprompter. You know, it's like the path to power is the path to the teleprompter.
And he then goes on to say that's a Ron Burgundy presidency. Now, for those of you who don't get that reference, one of Will Ferrell's best roles ever was playing a San Diego area 1970s, I believe it was, Buck, a local newsman, Ron Burgundy. And the conceit of the joke is if you put in a teleprompter, Burgundy will read it. And it's a really pretty fantastic, enjoyable movie, The Anchorman. I think they made The Anchorman Part 2, which I'm not even sure that I've seen yet.
Not so good.
Yeah. But this is a talking point that you and I have been embracing. I hope somebody like Elon Musk is going to start talking about the Weekend at Bernie's presidency as well and Weekend at Bernie's Part 2. But everyone is seeing this. And we even talked, Buck, was it last week or the week before, about not only is it a teleprompter presidency, it's like a full projection screen teleprompter because Joe Biden can't even read a normal teleprompter. They can't even use the Oval Office for him.
I mean, I've referred to him as Mr. Magoo before, which I feel like some people, the younger folks, may not catch that. But that's an old cartoon about a guy who basically, is always confused. And did you ever see Mr. Magoo, the cartoon? Are you familiar?
I don't remember Mr. I mean,
I
know the
Mr.
reference,
Magoo?
but
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't
remember watching
it.
A lot.
He'd walk up to a bulldozer and think it's a cow. I mean, that was kind of that was the old cartoon. Look, I remember early on the primary. This is one of those times where I was wrong, but I was wrong for a good reason, right? And I think that's worth noting. As we do a lot of analysis and things, sometimes you're wrong, but you're wrong for a reason it illuminates something worthwhile. Anyway, I assumed early on in the Democrat primary, there's no way they're actually going to make Joe Biden president. And that was because my assumption was we can all see this guy is too old for the job. He was a mediocre politician at best. He was a last-minute add-on to the Obama administration so they could claim they had a steady hand in foreign policy or something. But nobody cared. And Obama, obviously could have had Hillary as the vice president, but chose to have Joe Biden as the vice president. I mean, he could have switched it around if he had wanted to. And I think what we've seen all throughout this is that I overestimated the Democrats' seriousness as citizens voting for a guy that they should know isn't up for this. At the very beginning of the primary, I was like, it's not going to be Joe Biden because obviously I got that wrong. But as I look back at this, I realized, well, that was because I thought that we were kind of operating in the same basic universe of reality. And they want to tell you that somehow this guy, no one thinks he's good at this job. I mean, I haven't met a Democrat who will make a compelling case for Joe Biden as a good president. They may like him better. It's always, I like him better than Trump. Trump is an insurrectionist, a white nationalist, all that stuff. There's nothing to point to with Joe Biden that is impressive. There's never been anything to point to with Joe Biden that is impressive. And I think that everything that we had anticipated, Clay, it's all playing out exactly as we thought. Let me ask you this.
It's worse. I think it's so. Yes, we knew it was going to be bad. I didn't think it was going to be this bad.
But has anything? So when we look at the border, at the economy, at everything that's going on right now, has anything surprised you where we are now versus what you would have expected in January of 2020? I feel like we've been sitting here, and I don't just mean us. I mean the right, conservatives, and commentary in general, largely, not the ones that just attack conservatives on MSNBC for the amusement of libs, but people that actually care about the movement in the country. They've been saying this is what's going to happen, and it has all happened. Everything from vaccine passports to inflation to a wide open border to the rising violent crime all across the country. It's all played out exactly as we said. So it's almost disorienting because you're like, so we're right about everything. How is there even a discussion here? This presidency is horrible.
Yeah, and by the way, the presidency would be even worse if Joe Biden had gotten what he wanted to its full fruition, which I think is actually under-discussed and under-analyzed. And this is the other thing that Elon Musk said, which is you're seeing guys like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk start to take pot shots at Joe Biden. The point here is he has no idea how to solve inflation. And everything that he's talking about doing would actually make inflation worse. Listen to Elon Musk, a guy who knows a little bit about how business and money works, analyze
The
this.
obvious reason for inflation is that the government printed a zillion amount of more money than it had, obviously. So it's like the government can't just issue checks far in excess of revenue without there being inflation. This is very basic. This is not like, super complicated. Various countries have tried this experiment multiple times. Have you seen Venezuela? Like the poor people of Venezuela have been just run roughshod by their government.
Can I say that the Venezuela example is particularly poignant here? Because not only is printing currency in excess of, remember, it's underlying productivity that gives your currency value. And what we decided as a country, and I'm going to say this, I understand it's a pandemic year or whatever, but the whole shutdown, send people checks to stay home thing was a bad idea. And it happened under Trump. Now, I met with President Trump in, June of 2020. And by that point, he had already said, look, we didn't know. Now we know. We're going in a different direction. So, he deserves a little bit of criticism, maybe comparatively to the criticism that I think not just the Biden Democrats, but also Fauci and the whole health apparatus gets. But Clay, in Venezuela, not only do they print a lot of money, price controls. There's been some really interesting analysis of what happened. Because with inflation and also the prices start rising dramatically, they have lower productivity. It's really creates a cyclone of economic deprivation. And they said, well, now a washing machine, instead of costing, however many, I think it's bolivars, right? Instead of costing 1,000 bolivars, we're going to say it costs 500. Well, then there's no washing machines in the stores. And then what the government there did was say, well, now the government's going to actually seize some of the washing machine factories. I mean, and it just spirals down and down.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing it up because you have Elizabeth Warren saying we should have a commission to look at whether corporate profits right now are acceptable. I mean, we're actually talking about putting caps on profits. It's really not a big leap to start to talk about price controls, because that's effectively, if you're saying that, we're going to limit how much money you can make as a company, you're going to have to say we're going to limit how much you can charge for your services.